Hi, everyone, and welcome back. We are opening it up a little bit early, so if no one's here yet, that's okay. But as you filter in, um, we will get started in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everyone who has come a little bit early. Early bird gets the worm. You are in session 3 of 3 for our AI for small business owners. If you can put in the chat where you are calling from and also the industry you are in, that would be great. Make sure when you're putting it in the chat that it goes to everyone. So far, no one has participated yet, but I have full faith that Aaron, Daryl, Ben, you guys are gonna add in where you're from and the industry you're in. John, leading from example, calling in from DC, and he is in the AI industry. He was actually just showing us before that his camera follows him as he moves because it's an AI camera, so pretty impressive. I'll also participate in my own question. So if you can let us know where you're calling in from and then what industry you're in. Max is over in Virginia and Aaron is in manufacturing. I also wanted to say, if you missed any of the sessions, the recordings are at National ACE's Facebook page. So you can catch those there, and we are streaming over on Facebook as well. In a couple seconds here, it should be going live. Megan calling in from Cleveland, Ohio, and you are in marketing. Awesome. And we are right on the hour. So as you are joining us, put in where you are calling from and the industry you are in. We have a lot to cover today, so we will just jump in. We are back with pyramid systems for maximizing productivity and insights with AI solutions. I'm Emily Feuder with the National Asian Pacific Islander American Chamber of Commerce and Entrepreneurship, also known as National ACE, and this is part of our Capital Readiness Program. So this is a three-part series, and you are in the third part. If you didn't catch parts 1 and 2, you can watch them on National ACE's Facebook page. All of those recordings are there for you. And we've been taking your feedback from each session and adjusting what we'll cover. So today we'll go through how to hone in on the prompts that you're giving those language learning models. And we have some experts for you. Max may look familiar to you. John may look familiar to you. And if you don't know me yet, you're probably just going to get to know me a little bit better. But over at National ACE, our goal is to help all entrepreneurs rise up and be able to grow. So this is part of our growth series. You can be automating things to remind you through AI so that you don't have to make so many lists. So we're going to go through some things that will help you automate. I also wanted to highlight our Walmart Road to Open call is still open. So if you have a product, I noticed someone in the chat said they were in manufacturing. So you may be manufacturing consumer packaged goods. If you have a product that could be on Walmart's shelves, we would love for you to apply to this opportunity to pitch to Walmart and Sam's Club sourcer buyers. So you could be a supplier and put your product on their shelf. This event is on April 3rd in Los Angeles, and you can apply at nationalace.org. I'll put that in the chat. It's on the homepage. Takes about 10 minutes to apply. The key thing is your product needs to be made or assembled here in the United States, and you have to prove that you've already scaled. So you should be selling it online already in some capacity. If you have questions on any of that, send me an email. Email is also in the chat for you. But we are ready to get started. So I'll pass it over to you, John.
Thank you, Emily. Hello, I'm John Sabansky. I'm a VP of AI at a small government contractor here in Washington, D.C. And thank you for everyone for joining. Today, we're going to talk about how we could use AI just to maximize your productivity. So what does that mean? We'll get into that. It just means how you could do less work and have more impact, drive more sales, and reduce spend. So again, I'm John Sabansky. We also have guest speaker Max Bayomi here. He's a great guy. He took me last night to my very first Egyptian restaurant, and I had some food that I never had before. It was delicious. So any fans of Egyptian food, Max will give you a good place to go in the DC area. Oh, and this is the final session. So again, this is the final session. We've had two so far. I think the first two were smash success, had 100 people or so join us, and a lot of questions, a lot of interactivity, and we're gonna keep that momentum going and have an interactive meeting here as well. So if you have any questions, just put in the chat and we'll do it real time. And then we also have opportunities for online polling, which will show the results live. So in the chat last week, we had some questions around manufacturing, trademarking, copyright infringement, Zapier, a very pointed question, but it turns out a very useful question for this audience. And then WordPress. So just to summarize last week, we had a poll, asked people what services do they use for their website? And we had a lot of WordPress, a lot of Squarespace, GoDaddy, and Wix. And the question here was focused on WordPress. So first of all, manufacturing, I saw that Erin, for example, thank you for responding in the chat. She is in manufacturing. So the best AI tools there, we have something called Fathom for predictive maintenance. That's near and dear to my heart. I spent about 10 years of my early in my career, doing operations research, doing mathematical models, your traditional calculus and linear algebra to figure that out. Now we have AI so that you don't have to be as well versed in math to do that. That's Fathom. Odin for process optimization. That just means looking for waste and hotspots. I know that Elon Musk, for example, is a big fan of optimizing his robotics workflows for Tesla. And now we have artificial intelligence that can help with that. Bright machines for automation. So anything around automation, your typical OT, your typical operational technology. Now there's a lot of opportunity available for AI. So just look to those if you're interested in that. Audio samples for a commercial. So again, there was a question in the first week of using generative AI to create pictures, for example. And the question, the person asked, if I generate a picture, would it be copyright infringement if I put it on my website? And the answer is generally no. Secondly, you cannot copyright something that Gen AI creates because you need a human artist or a human author to copyright something. A robot, artificial intelligence, doesn't check that box. But the third thing is, if it's obviously some sort of intellectual property, I use the example of Harry Potter or Mickey Mouse, you cannot use that. And in fact, most of the tools will not let you do that. So just in the modality of audio, it's the same thing. You want to talk to an attorney and just make sure that you're avoiding it. So if it sounds just like, I don't know, if it sounds just like Jerry Seinfeld, you probably shouldn't use it. But again, check with your lawyer. So Zapier, this was a very pointed question. And it turns out, as you all know, there's tons of apps out there. There's tons of services out there. So we have chatbots for language, chatbots for vision, chatbots for predictive maintenance. You might have an app or a service for inventory management, for reservation management at a salon or restaurant. Now, there's this idea of just moving data along. So you might copy it from one website, put it into Excel, for example, or an Access database. This tool, which Max will demo, called Zapier, is a smart assistant that allows you to hook everything together, taking you out of the loop and freeing up your time. So that's a really interesting question. And we're going to have a demo of that later today. And then finally, we talked about the Wix chatbot. We talked about the GoDaddy chatbot, different plugins for that. WordPress as well has a native chatbot called WP-chatbot. plugin. If you're familiar with the WordPress platform, there's a lot of plugins you could add. That's just one of them. And then also something called Tidio, which is an external service, and they'll walk you through how to get that plugin onto your site. So again, any questions, just put them in the chat and I will try to ask them. Tesla lost over 88 billion with bad business practice. Oh, okay. So yeah, I guess Colleen, are you in the economics? Are you an economist? I am not an economist. I've never taken an economist class. I just read the autobiography by Walt Isaacson, and it was really intense what he did for the robotics manufacturing pipeline. But yeah, it's a good data point. It's up to you. Your miles may vary. 80 billion is a lot of money. Next slide. Okay, so today we're going to talk about prompts. What is a prompt? That is your interface to these large language models. I may have mentioned this last week for the new audience here. So Google, Microsoft, X, and OpenAI, obviously, they spent tens of millions, almost $100 million to do what's known as training a model. So they set up a data center in Texas or Virginia. They might even have their own coal plant to provide electricity, and then they'll buy tens of millions of dollars worth of these specialized computer equipment called GPUs to train a model. They scour the entire internet and then learn from it using these algorithms, mathematical algorithms, to create what's known as a foundational model or a large language model. Non-technically, it's ChatGPT, for example. It's a way for you to get the intelligence from the internet in a summarized form by communicating with it, and you do that through a prompt. So it could be a question, command, or description, and it's the typing version of talking to your Alexa or talking to Siri, for example. When you talk to Alexa, it's going back to, I mean, there's some audio transcoding there as well, but it's going back to one of those foundational models, supplies the intelligence, the thought process, and gives you a reply or produces an action. And Chian, if I get the screen for 1 second, I'm just going to show real fast. So I'm sure most people here have used a large language model. I'm using Grok. So X provides Grok. You could use ChatGPT, you can use Claude, you can use Gemini from Google, for example. There's a lot of competitors. It's a very rich space, rich landscape. So let's ask a question. Tell me about the industries in National ACE members. Not perfect English there, but let's see if it could give me an example. Yeah. Nope. So it replied with something called National Association of Colleges and Employers, which is not what we want, and say, no, the other national ACE. All right, so this just shows a failure of Grok, which is fine. Let me ask a different question. I'm a handyman. I saw somebody in the chat is a handyman. I'm a handyman. And I would like to advertise my services to people who use apps on their iPhone. What apps can I use? And so right here, if you're a handyman, you might have excellent word of mouth. You might use Craigslist. You might put flyers up on telephone poles in your city. But right here, it'll say, okay, there's some other solutions to your need. So there's TaskRabbit, Thumbtack, Angie, which used to be Angie's List, Nextdoor, Handy, Yelp, and then so on and so forth. And then it'll give you some success. So can you write some ad copy for my handyman services to advertise on Facebook in DC? So you can just copy and paste this into your ad, edit it, tailor it as you want. It may be obvious that machine learning generated this, so you might want to look at the grammar, but it talks about some of the key, features and benefits for using your service, trustworthiness, deal driven, so on and so forth. So I just wanted to show there the three phases of the prompt interaction. So the first one would be the question itself. You could additionally upload, for example, a PDF file or Excel spreadsheet. I know Grok, if you have a printout of your blood results, for example, you can upload it into Grok, and it'll give you a little summary and maybe some suggestions about things you could do to improve your health. I'm not going to show that here, it's PII, but it's just kind of a cool idea. Or if you have an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV spreadsheet that shows purchases, you could upload it and then summarize, group by users in different counties. Let me stop sharing. Okay. All right, Chian, thanks. Can you put the slides back? So I get into this here, just the three elements of a prompt: your instruction or your question, do this, or what's this? You put in some extra data if you need to, and then it provides output. Next slide, please. So it's more than just Q&A. You could do summarization. If you have, let's say, I saw somebody in here, was it DCT LLC? They're in government contracting. So if there's some sort of solicitation or proposal, I don't know, you have to use your judgment if you want to do it into one of these public chatbots, but you could use one of the private services that are protected by security and say, okay, here's a 100-page request for proposal, summarize it into 10 bullet points, and I'll do just that. So text summarization is very good. Obviously, Q&A. Text classification and information, upload a file and say, hey, break down these purchasers into different market or clustering types based on their purchases. So it might say, okay, you might have some high value purchasers that buy the Rolex watch, and you might have some people who are frequent buyers, but they buy small items like silver earrings. And that's one way to quickly attack data that you have for decision making. Role playing. Any geeks in the chat? So I have a nephew, and he's really into Dungeons and Dragons, and he uses these large language models like ChatGPT and Gemini as what's known as a dungeon master. It just means it's a storyteller who kind of walks you through an adventure. Okay, you're walking through a dungeon and an orc appears, and the ChatGPT will output a whole scenario, and you can respond, talk to the orc. That's kind of a toy example, but you could use role playing. Pretend that you're a interviewer at Google, a very demanding technical interview, and be really hard on my responses. Ask me some technical questions, and no matter what I say, really poke holes in it. So you could role play that sort of situational thing. Same thing. Oh, I want to sell. I'm a car dealership. I'm selling cars. Let's role play your customer who's kind of happy with their car, but they have to do repairs and they might want to buy a new car. Again, use your imagination, and there's no penalty for asking. You could ask as much as you want. So code generation for your government contractors. I don't know how many people here are code developers, maybe it's webmasters, for example. But if you need to do anything around Python or Java, or if you're a data engineer, you need some SQL, some SQL, some Excel formulas, you could ask it. And then reasoning, again, you could use this as a life coach, for example. Should I take this job? Here are the pros, and give me some pros and cons of this job offer versus my current job. Again, those sort of reasoning situations. All right, next slide. So one thing we have in this example is you could change the tone of the responses. So for example, you could say you're a kindergarten teacher. Or you're an insult comment. Everything you reply, I want you to poke fun at me, right? And it'll do it, and it's pretty funny. Or talk like Jeff Goldblum. use his cadence and mannerism and prosody when he responds. Again, you can have some fun with it, but it could also be a situational role play. So right here, explain insurance to a 3-year-old, and you get this prompt here. I won't read it, but it does a good job. Next slide, please. So again, the example we use here, we use cybersecurity software startup, and we're asking just brainstorming about how to get some momentum and enthusiasm behind our product pre-launch, so we have a successful launch day. So in the terms of cybersecurity, you could have a social media campaign, for example, with countdown, some sort of interesting content. If you need interesting content, use the LLMs to describe or create some interesting content for you. And like we demonstrated last week, we have Midjourney, for example, to do some really cool pictures. And then it says, specific to this domain, for the super geeks or people who write technical blogs or people who are really into security and might have some YouTube channels around security, give them an early release, let them generate the buzz. So again, really good ideas. It would cost a lot of money to have a marketing expert give you this advice, but you could get it and use your judgment to see what applies. Next slide. So I don't know if you remember in my demo, it gave me an answer that was wrong. And I said, oh, are you sure? So that's what's known as a follow-up prompt. And from there, you could really fine tune. So there's no harm in starting general, right? You could say, tell me about laptops. What's a great laptop for under $1,000? And it might say Apple, Sony, Dell, down the list. And then you could say, oh, I just want to know about Apple. So that idea of fine tuning, or as my friends at Google might say, double clicking into that one bullet, it will give you improved coverage, better accuracy, and preserve the context. And you could have it, let's say, okay, write a short story about a guy who rides his motorcycle across the country. Then you have 100 or so follow-up prompts of, okay, change this part, or change this bike from a Harley Davidson to a Honda. And it'll do that, and it'll remember the context for the whole session. Another thing is you could go to your history and have different contexts. So you could have one context or history about the motorcycle, for example, another one about your Facebook copy for handyman services. It's pretty interesting stuff. And again, it's kind of, I'm actually learning this as well. I have a lot of technical background, as does Max and a lot of people on this call. So I might kind of try to hint the answer, right? So, oh, convert this JSON to a Python dict, for example, and then it might give me a better suggestion. So if you start very open-ended, oh, I have data on a spreadsheet and I want to use it to predict trends, regression analysis, for example, or predict sales or how many onions I need to buy for my restaurant. Leave it open-ended and it might say, okay, use this tool, this formula, rather than trying to pigeonhole it to something you're familiar with. It's just good strategy. Next slide, please.
We actually have a quick question in the chat, John. Um,
Cool.
the question is AI useful for researching grants, funding, endowments for startups, or novice government contract bidders? And also, you mentioned secure or private AI resources. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, so in general, when you use these public large language models like ChatGPT, like Grok, they're free, but there's the potential that what you put into your prompt, the company will take that prompt and train the model. So if you say, hey, I'm John Sabansky, here's my blood type, here's my social security number, there's a potential that that data could leak. So there are solutions. We could give you a list, but for example, Google has one, Amazon has one, Microsoft has one. And in that case, there's actually a contractual agreement that they provide to you that says anything you type in the prompt, no one else is going to see ever. So it's pretty good. So for grants and researches, absolutely yes. You could use it, to find what grants are out there. So, hey, I have this blockchain solution to track, let's say, my people who use my restaurant. what are some good grants that would help fund my idea? And it might come back with different SIBRs or, national ACE grants and things like that. And then when you actually see the solicitation, you could use the AI to summarize it. So you can hit the key points. You could use it to actually score your proposal. So if you have a response, you could say, based on the criteria of the solicitation, how would you rate my proposal? And I can show you one really quick thing. If I get the screen back. All right, this might be interesting. So I'm sharing my graph screen. All right, so I have a cybersecurity solution for using AI and robotic dogs. What is state of the art in academia? I just made that up at the top of my head. We don't really have anything to do with robotic dogs, but if you do, I think it's pretty awesome. So you then have this key here called deep search. So you click that, and it'll actually go through different journals and white papers. So actually, I'm going to stop sharing. Max, would you mind taking over for 1 second? I have to, I have someone at the, my son just got off the bus, so I apologize.
All
So
good.
Max, just go off mute. Yeah.
I know, Max, you had a demo as well. Do we want to jump to the demo?
We can go ahead and jump to the demo. Absolutely.
Amazing.
All
So tell us
right.
what you're going to show us today.
Okay, so I'm going to show you guys something very, very cool. Um, so if you guys remember from last week, we talked about my fake Egyptian restaurant website. So we're going back to that, but here's a little story that happened since then. The restaurant has decided to expand and add a new service. The new service is we're going to start offering catering services. And recently, we had an outdoor event where we provided an iPad for people who visit our booth to enter their contact information. They were encouraged that if they're interested in catering, to enter their contact information so we can reach out to them as new leads, to also give us new ideas for menu items that they would like to see in our restaurant, and if they have any feedback about any of the food that's available in our restaurant. Once the event was over, we decided to capitalize on this information and start a new marketing campaign using the technology tools that are available to us so that we can really um, uh, drum up new revenue for the restaurant. So the first tool that we decided to use was MailChimp. And what MailChimp can do is it can connect directly to your website platform. So in my case, I used Wix, and I connected it directly to Wix. So in doing that, it absorbed my contact information, which was collected through the iPad that I had, which was directly linked to the website. And it also picked up on the design themes and colors and styles of my website. So now that it has all of that, it can help me generate a mail campaign with hopefully little effort. It offers.
Hey, Max, I just have a quick question. How did it know what colors your website had? Did you put it in somewhere in MailChimp?
Not at all. Actually, by linking it directly to Wix, it actually looked at everything that was there for my website.
Okay.
And that was actually a nice surprise to me when I was looking through this, that it adapted directly and picked up a lot of the pictures and a lot of the images and a lot of the color schemes that I have on the website automatically. So that will help you a great deal when you're doing this. Once I did that, I decided to let it show me what it has. So I started with a campaign builder. I started a brand new campaign. It's already got one here, and I was just testing with this. And I did not dive too deep in this, and I won't go too far. but I just want to show you what kind of capabilities it can do. So what I asked it to do was generate a few templates for me to choose from. It gave me a few ideas. This was one of the ones that I liked. I can also change the background colors, text, and so on. I can also modify the mobile version of it, which is really, really nifty. Um, and once it did that, I was able to also edit the text to show any kind of news and any kind of information that I wanted to add. Again, all of this was automatically generated. I didn't have to add any of these things, but I can modify them if I want to. Once I did this, I asked it to this is just showing you that it does connect to Wix, and it also does connect to a lot of the website platforms as well, such as WordPress and GoDaddy and so on. So you can actually do that directly. It can import your brand. It can then you can go and send your first email. You can even connect other apps through here. So you could go through WordPress, Canva. You could pretty much connect to all the different platforms as you want. Once I did that, I opened my mail campaign and I decided to send my first test email. And when I did, and this was a different one before I changed the design, it actually sent me a test email showing me everything that I had in there. And it even included my little notes that I did down here. Of course, this is all customizable, so you can change it any way you want. And depending on the package that you select, it gives you different options for integration and for the capabilities of your marketing campaign, like more insight onto what kind of templates and what kind of images you can use, removing the Intuit logo down here. So there's a lot of things that you can do, and I'll go at the very end through the optional packages that you can upgrade to. But this is MailChimp. After that, I figured maybe I could do a little bit more because yes, this integrates with my website, but I really don't want to do a lot of work myself. I kind of want to automate a lot of this work. So as soon as I come back from an event, I upload the information that I got from the iPad, and an automation takes over and does everything for me. So I looked at Zapier, and Zapier was just phenomenal when it comes to something like this, because what Zapier can provide is a complete automation and a complete control over everything you want to do. So all you have to do is upload your data and kick off one of the workflows that you've built previously, and it will do all of that for you. You don't have to send to every single person. It will basically do everything for you. Now, the disclaimer here is it does take a little bit of work, but the plus side is so much assistance here. They offer direct contact. They offer direct chat with them, videos to show you how to do everything. It's very intuitive, so you'll be able to pick it up very, very quickly. The first thing that I did was I built an automated table. And with an automated table, what it does is it gives you general templates or a blank table. This is similar to an Excel sheet, which you can customize any way you want, but you could create a lead tracker template or a Facebook lead tracker, approval requests, daily sales, email attachment savers, a whole bunch of different templates, or you can even just build your own. So what I did was I created a leads based on the outdoor event that we had. And what I did was I opened it up and I imported, and you can do this from here. You can import your spreadsheet that you collected from that event. It will bring in all the information for you. You can even add new fields here with like a body or a special request or a special type for this person. So let's say this is feedback on a restaurant, a menu item, or a suggestion, or just interest in catering. And having the name here and the email and the subject line and the body, These can also be auto-generated. I don't need to enter them, but if this can be based on what they entered as an interest on the iPad at the booth. And once I have this and it's imported in, I went ahead and I built a workflow. And the workflow is very interesting. So the workflow functions very much like a flowchart. You start with a trigger, and then you start with and then you follow up with an action and multiple actions. You can even add more triggers. And what that means is, let's say, import a new set of records, import a new set of leads that I have. And as soon as you see new records come in, start sending emails based on what the body of the record says or the type of the record is. So if it is a catering lead, send them this kind of email. If it is a menu suggestion, send an email to my team, my culinary team, telling them we got this feedback about a menu item. If it is a new suggestion for the menu, send it to me because I want to know if I'm going to be able to cook it or not for the restaurant. And then send a reply to the person who sent it saying, thank you so much for the suggestion. We're taking into consideration. And I can even update it later on and say, we've added this to the menu. Here's what it looks like on the menu page. Building this is really, really easy. You can edit it. It basically what it does is it takes from whichever table you have, and you tell it which table you want to look at, which is built into Zapier. And then you can say, what's my trigger button? If you decide to send an email through the table itself, like for here, then you go ahead and send an email. And this is built off of this button. If I go back and change the other one, which is the one I actually built. Sorry, I apologize. That was the wrong one.
All good, Max. And if you have questions on anything, put them in the chat or in the Q&A so we can address. These are kind of called automations, which I mentioned in chat. National ACE uses these for our email server as well. My question right now, Max, while you're pulling this up is it only email prompts that it can do? Like you preload
No.
these emails or,
It
okay.
can do automations with a variety of things. You can build a lot of different automations targeting pretty much everything, and it gives you suggestions here. It can send emails. It can post to the Dropbox. It can look at pictures and look at calendar events. It can change your contact information, like change contacts in the information. It can do changes to a Google form. There are a lot of templates and a lot of different things that it can do. It actually offers about 5,000 different automation concepts, and it can automate to a variety of applications out there. So it's not just email. I used email as just based on the story that I'm telling right now for the restaurant. So back to this. So here again, this is the one that I use. So I'm here looking at my table and saying, if I get an updated or a new or a deleted record, I want you to send an email through Gmail, and use this account and go through and send that email to me. I was just doing a quick test, and this is what it sent. Send me this to test it, and here is the body of the email. This is where it's coming from, and it's coming to me. And it actually sent it to me, and this is where it's originating from. So this shows that the test actually came through. But like I said, there's a lot of things you can do with Zapier. It's not just that. One more thing that you can do, and this is one of the things that really interested me about Zapier, is interfaces. Not only automations or tables or collecting data, but you could even send out to your leads. Like in my example, all the people that were interested in catering, I could create a quick form and send it out through email, and they could fill it in and it would automatically populate the data for me if they really do want to host a catering event. And by creating these forms, I can actually engage with the customers directly and have an interactive session with them, not just through the website, but through email as well. And this is one of the things that I really loved about this. And again, this is based off of the templates they have. You could also build your own. And again, they offer a lot of help and a lot of assistance and all of these. Now, with that in mind, uh, as we had talked last week, Zapier is one of the services that offers chatbots. We won't talk about chatbots this time, but I wanted to highlight that it does actually exist, and you can actually build a chatbot similar to TDO and Wix for your website as well. Now, going through to the marketing, so the pricing plans, I wanted to note that for MailChimp, you could do the email marketing campaign, which I noted, which I explained and demoed, but you could also expand that to SMS, which is text service. So you could even expand beyond that. MailChimp also allows you to do your own website editing and development through MailChimp. So you could consolidate all of that in one place instead of using Wix or WordPress and so on. You could even do transactional email, which is like the forms that Zapier provides, but it's a little bit more complicated. They don't want to delve too much into it because it's a little bit more hands-on with the work that needs to be done. But down here, you can see that they offer a free one to try it out. Gives you 500 contacts. You can get email support. It does take away some of the options that are available to you, but it does let you try it out to see if it actually works for you. My suggestion is the standard one because it does offer you most of the features, and it gives you support, so you can learn a great deal, and it's not very expensive. I believe the pricing is down here somewhere. I apologize if I did not see it. But yes, so here you could look at standard, or you could look at any of the others as well, and you can look at how much it is going to be. With Zapier's plans, again, because it depends on what you're going to be using it for. And again, it does offer a free version for you to try out, which gives you very limited ability, but it does allow you to do workflows and send emails and such. But it does put a little bit of restriction. But then you have all the other options for you. They are quite low cost. And affordable for most people to use, and it will really help with your marketing strategy. So that's everything that I have. I'd love to take questions on any of these.
If you have also like a use case example that you want us to kind of go through, feel free to put that in the chat. If you have questions on how to use Zapier, or if you are using it in a specific way, we would love to see in the chat how you're doing that, just to give ideas to everyone. Because Max, you said what? It was over 1,000 things it could do. So our imagination may not even be that big, but if someone's using it, it almost seems like it's like a virtual assistant in some ways, where it can remind you to do things. It can send emails that you have planned out. If this, then that. So it seems like it can definitely free up some time for you as a small business owner if you begin to use it. So in the chat, let us know if you're using it, and if so, how, or if you have a question about it. But while we wait for that, I know we wanted to go through prompts as well today. So how you can start using those language learning models best, how you should be putting prompts in to get the result that you truly want. So one of those language learning models, or LLMs, is ChatGPT, that a lot of you folks are familiar with, but there may be ways to use it that would be more effective that you may not be aware of. So I know, John, did you want to do that demo?
Yeah, I could do that demo. Let me just put my screen back. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right, so again, this is ChatGPT. I'm signed in with my Google account. You could actually just go to the website and try it for free. And I'll just show you some examples on how to prompt. Give me 1 second here. So let me try again. Break down the industries in national. Let's see if ChatGPT does better than Graph. It gives me choices here. So we're gonna go with response 1.
Part of it is actually getting clipped, the right side. So I see response 1 on the left, and then the right is cut kind of in half. I don't know if you can scroll to the right a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, let me see if I can do that. I will maximize my screen. How's that? Do you see it now?
Yes.
All right. It gave me 2 choices. They were just A/B testing. So it says here, small and minority-owned businesses. It got the name right. So the National Asia Pacific Islander American Chamber of Commerce and Entrepreneurship, National ACE. Awesome. Right there. A nice vote for ChatGPT. It breaks it down by businesses, technology and information, healthcare and pharmaceuticals, finance and banking. And so there's a lot of stuff to read here. Summarize it more to just the headers. And it could do that. All right. Then it says, if we wanted to deep dive more, you could say, show me small businesses in real estate. Construction. And so it'll just give you some answers there. If you wanted to, for example, use the one I said earlier, I would like to hire someone to help me at my real estate brokerage. What interview questions can I use? And let's say you're on the other end, you could say, focus on number 1, but role play as the interviewer and ask me questions. Be hard on my responses. And then it goes through, thanks for coming today. It'll ask you some question. Can we talk your background in real estate? I worked for 6 months. And so it'll come back. So you could just kind of wordplay with this. Do we actually have any questions? So maybe I could demonstrate how to deep dive on the prompts from actual questions of people in the chat. That might be a fun process.
Yeah.
So we had a question. Okay.
I was going to say, I think this question might be for Max while we wait for more questions to flow in, but how does Zapier compare to HubSpot in terms of capabilities and cost? Are they similar? So John, you want to put that in the chat?
That's an excellent question, actually. So, HubSpot, sorry, is more of a CRM tool. You could say it does both, what Zapier and Mailchimp does together, and adds a few more functionalities to it. So you could automate pretty much mail campaigns, sales campaigns, a lot of other things as well using that. It does have a little bit more capability than both of those. But what I would say is if you want to automate and create workflows between your applications, Zapier is the way to go because that's more driven towards automation workflows. Whereas if you want the larger package to do things with, then HubSpot way is a bit more towards what you're looking. Let's see if ChatGPT gives us the same answer.
All right, so I'm going to show my age here, and I'm going to say, let's take the Pepsi challenge. Gen Xers on the call might remember that. Oh, this is pretty interesting. It comes right out with the table to make it easy to read. So right there, it goes, you could just focus right in to what's most important to you. Is it more about the capabilities or the cost? I mean, that's all the information that Max just said, and it's ready to go.
Well, I'm glad ChatGPT agrees with me.
So earlier question, how can I find grants for my small GovCon business? I specialize in it's gonna be technology here, Java development, say. All right, so it talks about SIBRs, it talks about sitters. Which one would be the easiest and most likely to win? They would recommend a SIBR. And then you give your examples. And you could say, write a quick high level outline for my SPR response for my Java development. And then you can walk through it. And if you needed to flesh this out, so identify some available SIBRs I can submit to today. If you're not familiar, SIBR means Small Business Innovation Research.
Then they even have the deadlines for when they close. This is amazing. I think I will say, so National ACE runs the restaurant fund where we have grants available and folks apply, but you can definitely tell when they're using the same prompts to answer through ChatGPT because we had a lot of duplicated answers. So it's
That's
great.
funny.
Yeah, it's great to use as a
Yeah.
tool, but you do want to do some tweaking if you are submitting a proposal to make it your voice and to not just copy and paste directly from the outline that it gives you, because it is quite obvious to those who do review the grants. Another cool thing we talked about earlier this week, John, was how with role playing, you can also say, you can help them build out like a press release. So you could say, oh, National ACE is announcing the new restaurant fund grants. Draft me a press release. And so you can tell them, I need you to be my PR agent. Draft me a press release for this. And you give them the date, the time, the details, the eligibility. And that gives you a starting template to actually have a whole press release that you can share with your network and with your local news station. So the role playing is, okay, I want you to be the press agent or the PR professional, and then fill this in. So you have a bagel shop in Long Island, New York. And what is your big press announcement? What's happening?
Well, we give customers the most cream cheese. If you've ever been to
Okay.
New York, there's a lot of cream cheese in New York bagels, or your money back. So I need you to be my press agent. Create a press release for my new bagel shop in Long Island, New York, my hometown.
The most cream cheese promise. This is amazing.
Something about DC, they don't put as much cream cheese in bagels. It's okay.
Anyone else want to test out a prompt? Put it in the chat, but these are some really easy applications that you can start using this week. So you don't have to be doing everything on your own. And I know a lot of people aren't, and that's great, but there's things that you can use this for that maybe your imagination hasn't even uncovered yet. So I know Patrick had mentioned how they are using um, Zapier. So you're using Zapier for digital ads and leads. And then you also use Constant Contact to automate your
Hmm.
email campaign, your welcome email. We have our welcome email automated as well. And then you said that you scrap business association directory with a Fiverr contractor and you upload the list to Constant Contact. I'm not sure totally what that means, but I think, yeah, the key here is you want to automate as much as you can, but you don't want to lose your voice. So, yes, use that press release as your template, but tweak it so it's in your brand's voice or ask ChatGPT to tweak it. Say, I want to be more silly. I want to be a silly bagel shop, or I need to be more serious. Update the tone to be more focused on X, Y, and Z. So, these are all things that you can do to make it more customized. You often don't want to go with that first option. You can make it better.
All right, so let's try that. I'm gonna just say, make it sound more like a New Yorker. New Yorkers have a very distinct cadence, tone, pitch, rhythm, volume of voice.
And I saw the message in the chat. I don't think you can upload someone's contact without permission. Aaron, that's pretty true for most of these email servers because they have spam controls. So if you are, using people's contact information, putting it into the newsletter, make sure that however you're collecting that information, they've opted in to be in your newsletter. And also, most newsletters require a double opt-in. So once you do sign them up, if they really wanted it, they'll get an email saying, "Hey, Emily, you signed up for this newsletter. Do you want this? Yes, no." And so that is also a way that your emails don't go into everyone's spam inbox, because if you are grabbing all these emails, sending emails to folks that didn't sign up, you will be flagged as spam, and then your paying customers aren't going to see what you want to tell them about the most cream cheese promise, for example.
Excellent.
This is a great start. The most cream cheese are That's right. Okay.
Yeah,
Any,
so it's funny
Go
they got
ahead.
the slang. So we used to like cruise by the mall in our car. We used to just drive by the mall playing whatever was popular on Guns N' Roses. And so they're saying, yeah, if you're just cruising by on your way, it's kind of funny. That's just regional slang they picked up. And you could probably tune it more. So this was when we were like 15. I don't drive by the mall as an adult.
I think Taylor Swift still does. It's in one of her songs. Um,
Oh, awesome. Cool.
so any last minute questions? I know we just have a couple minutes left, but questions on prompts specifically for these language learning models or questions around how you could use Zapier. Max, if you have contact information, if someone does come up with a question after that they could connect with you, if you could put that in the chat, John as well.
Sure.
Even though this is session 3 of 3 for this series, we will continue it this fall. And our kickoff will be on September 19th. It's a Friday in New York City, and we'll be in person at the National ACE Conference doing a workshop for you with more demos, and you can be more interactive. We'll have our own little breakout session, and that'll be the kickoff of our next series. And then it'll be virtual for the following 2 weeks. So we want to make sure that you're equipped with what you need to streamline your organization, right? You do it all alone, but you don't have to do it all alone anymore. There's tools out there. We want to make sure you have those resources to grow. So really appreciate it. John just dropped his LinkedIn in the chat, so feel free to connect with him there. Um, Even though this is, again, session 3 of 3, make sure you plug back in this fall with our next series. And we are doing events all around the country. You can see them at nationalace.org. We have small business roundtables that will be happening in Chicago, New York, in Texas, and California. We have grant programs that we run throughout the year. So it's been great to see you all engaged, and we hope to see you again very soon, either in person or at our next virtual event. Thanks, everyone.